So I asked everyone on Twitter what they wanted me to talk about because I've been in a rut lately. I don't know what to talk about at all on my YouTube channel because nothing's really been going on or nothing's really enraged me. This guy suggested I talk about Garfield. Okay, I'll talk about Garfield because Garfield reminds me of everything I hate about today's webcomics.
Yeah.
Boy, howdy. Am I gonna get some hate for this one? Listen, okay. Garfield, I don't like him. I just don't like the fat fucking lasagna-loving piece of shit cat. I don't. I really don't. He's just a boring cat. The older Garfield comics were much more about a cat's life, like being a cat owner and all these relatable issues you have as a cat owner. But then as the series evolved and grew, Garfield turned from this blob, gelatinous-looking cat into this thin leg thing. Just he can walk and talk now. It's really weird. But as the comic evolved, so did the humor, and the humor was just not there. It's just the fucking Garfield sucks when it comes to the humor.
How can I go on like this? We're having pizza for dinner. That's how.
Look at this comic right here. What is it about? It's about how Garfield, he looked at a piece of cake and, oh, there's a rat in there. Not gonna eat that. Wow. Hilarious. Incredibly hilarious. And this shit has been going on for, I don't know, fucking since the 80s or the 70s, so about 40 years now. And it's not stopping. If you look at a local newspaper nowadays, they're still there. It's still that thing. The fucking Garfield's still alive and doing comics. It's so weird, honestly. And there's even TV shows and movies and dolls, and I get it because, you know, it's a really famous comic and whatnot, but god damn it, is it not funny. It is in no way a funny comic. It's just a relatable comic, I guess. But, you know, I can't blame the creator of Garfield at all. Because guess what? He's this old dude who has to make comics for every single week of his life. Of course, he can't be creative every single day or every single week, but that just sort of reminds me of some modern comics that I've seen. Webcomics. You know, webcomics are the evolution, the step up from newspaper comics. It's something you can make whenever you want, and sometimes you get paid for it. There are some great websites out there that you can use as a webcomic artist or just an artist in general that has always had this yearning for expansion when it comes to their storytelling elements. You know, I've seen a ton of different creators, a ton of different ones. I used to frequent this website called Tapastic, which has a great community of artists and comic creators and all the like, and I've made a ton of friends going on that website. It's really cool. I've met a lot of cool people. A lot of them still follow me on Twitter. I don't know why, because I'm still offensive and I don't think you guys really want to follow me on Twitter, but hey, you still follow me, which is great. I like you guys. You know, while I spent my time there in Tapastic, I'm not going to say it's a perfect website. I have nothing to lose when it comes to that website, so here it is. Some of those comics are just crap, which is fine. It's fine. Not every YouTuber is a great YouTuber. I'm not that great. Same with Tapastic. There are some creators that I'm not going to call out personally, but there are a few of them that are just not great at all and just aren't funny or just relatable at all. See, Tapastic is sort of like this Tumblr alternative for anybody who wants to be an artist or a comic book creator or whatever. See, I don't want to make fun of Tumblr artists too much because it's the typical thing to make fun of, and also because there are a ton of artists on Tumblr who are beyond their years in terms of talent and kindness and humbleness, and they're amazing, they're incredible, and they deserve so much more credit and respect than they already get. And really, the people I'm about to talk about are just a very small minority, but they're very loud. I'm pretty sure you all know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the Tumblr artists that are just so ignorant to criticism and anything else outside of their bubble that they just shun everyone who would ever want to critique them or help them improve. In fact, that's why the whole Tumblr knows thing exists, because those kinds of artists don't really improve on their style. They just sort of copy what they see and put it into their own style instead of actually learning why that style is good for them or why that style is something they want to practice more. They just sort of steal it without improving, and that's not really great, honestly. And yes, you could say that they're just young kids that can't really draw and they're just starting to learn, and yeah, I understand that. But there are some artists that I know that are under the age of 18 who practice hard and diligently to improve and to make their style great. Meanwhile, other artists who don't want to improve stay in their safe little bubble where everybody says they're great at what they do. But of course, in their eyes, why would they need criticism? They're doing so well, they're getting a ton of patrons, they're getting a ton of donations, they get a ton of commissions. Why even would they want to improve? They're just gonna stay still where they're comfortable without really thinking about the future, which is just a little irritating and irksome. I'm not trying to judge people too harshly on what they do. You do you, really. If it's working for you, go for it. But there's just something more you can do with yourself and your talent. There's always a step ahead that you can take. Sure, sometimes it's scary, but sometimes, if not all the time, it's worth it. Again, I'm not trying to make fun of these people. Usually they're about 14 years old, maybe even somewhere in their teens. And the fact that they can draw like that is incredible, really. That's a great amount of talent, and I look forward to those kinds of artists evolving and becoming better. But of course, not all of them are going to evolve, and they're not going to get very far. It's concerning, really. A lot of comic book artists, or it's weird to say that, webcomic artists, just fucking artists. When I say artists, I'm talking about people who make webcomics, okay? So a ton of different artists just stay where they are because they're comfortable with where they are. And, you know, how can you blame them? They have a following. Maybe it's not that big, but they have a following nonetheless. And a lot of people give them compliments. But that's the weird thing. When you go on sites like Tapastic, it's hard to even criticize people on their webcomics. I've criticized a ton of different people on Tapastic about their webcomics, and I try not to be a dick about it. Some of them appreciated the criticism, while a few others just straight up blocked me because they don't like the criticism that they hear. Even when people ask their audience for criticism, they still block me. Listen, motherfuckers, I don't like the things that some people tell me on YouTube. Sometimes I get people calling me a piece of shit, right? I get that, right? I don't like that, but fuck it, it's there, so it's not gonna fucking go away, even if I delete it, right? But there are some people out there who are just so aching to give you criticism just so they could see you be a better person or a better content creator or a better artist, but you ignore them because they're not the typical compliments that you get, which is shit. Honestly, if you're an artist, a webcomic artist especially, you should really be open to all sorts of criticism. Even if people are a little mean when they say it, just know that it comes from a good place. If that criticism sounds like something that can be applied to your art or the way you tell comedy, then maybe you should listen, honestly. Now, of course, a ton of people, like I said, there's going to be a ton of people that are just going to ignore the criticism, regardless. I know a few comic artists that just make the same bland kind of webcomics every single day, and it's just unoriginal, it's kind of shitty, and it's really just relatable more than anything else. Like, I saw this really funny comic by Mr. Lovenstein that just makes fun of those kinds of people. I think this is the funniest example of every comic artist right now. They just sort of talk about how life is so hard. Oh man, isn't that funny, guys? Isn't that shareable, retweetable, hashtag relatable, all that shit? Yeah, I get it. It's relatable, and that's why it's so popular. So it's really hard to tell those kinds of people to improve, because honestly, that's not gonna get them very far. Or shit, maybe it will get them far, because look at Garfield. It's been doing the same damn thing for the past 50 or so years. Maybe I'm wrong, but whatever, it's felt like 50 years. Who cares if it's 50 or 40? The fact that it's been going on for more than 20 years is just a miracle. Well, no, it's not a miracle. It's just people, sometimes they like shit. And man, don't even get me started on webcomic artists who just make webcomics based on their sexuality. Listen, I don't like your comic. I'm just not gonna be like delicate about it. I don't like your comic. If you make a comic about how gay you are, then that's just dumb to me. I don't make a webcomic about how straight I am. In fact, I almost did, but my fucking tablet died, so I can't continue it anymore. I don't know what happened. Just fuck it. I can't do it anymore. But yeah, it's just so weird. How can you make a webcomic about how bisexual you are, how pansexual you are, or anything else really? I just don't understand it. I don't get it. Maybe it's because I'm not pansexual, or maybe it's because I'm not gay. But even then, there should be some sort of connection between you and the audience. How are you going to exclude everyone else? How are you just going to make fun of everyone who's not gay, or everyone who's not bisexual or pansexual or anything like that? It's just so confusing to me that you would alienate these kinds of people because you feel like your sexuality is so interesting that you need to make a webcomic about it. It's dumb. It's not interesting. I'm sorry. But if everything about you that's interesting is just based off of your sexuality, you are a boring person. You have nothing to go on. You are just a loser like everyone else. I'm a fucking loser too. You think I have anything interesting to say? No, I don't. But I don't make a fucking webcomic about how not interesting I am. God damn it. Like, that's so dumb. I'm sorry, but I hate those webcomics. You can call me homophobic all you want, right? I'm not a homophobic motherfucker. I don't care if you're gay, bisexual, fucking... I'm glad that y'all can marry. That's great. But just don't make a webcomic about how uninteresting you are that you need to fucking make a sexual orientation comic. It doesn't make any sense! Anyways, Garfield, yeah, it's not that great. Anyways, guys, thank you all so very much for watching. Thanks to Smuggy for the suggestion. You probably didn't see the turn that this was gonna take, because I don't like Garfield all that much. I don't hate it either. It's just a thing that just existed in my life. It's just that mediocre thing that's been around for a long time. And maybe you really do like Garfield a lot, and that's okay, but what I don't like is certain webcomics. Again, I'm not going to call anyone out. I know some of these people follow me, so I can't call them out. Yeah, I don't have big balls. Fine. Make fun of my balls. I don't have big balls. But if I did have the biggest of balls, then I probably would make fun of them. But I don't. It's not about making fun of who they are. Like, I'm not here to specifically direct my hate towards certain webcomics at them. I'm just here to say what I feel, certain, like, just in general, how webcomics are. And some webcomics are just shit. That's just the case. But anyways, guys, thank you all so very much for watching. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe. And if you're not new, then fucking like. I don't know. But like anyways, you piece of shit. But anyways, thank you again so much for watching. I keep repeating that. I will see you all next time. I love you all so very much. Goodbye.